if Jesus performed frequent immersion rituals, why then did the authors of the Gospels only highlight the immersion at the beginning of his ministry? It seems that this particular immersion was not the baptism of Jesus, but a baptism of Jesus, one of many baptisms of Jesus. Why then did the authors of Mark, Matthew, and Luke place such emphasis on a ritual that numerous Jews performed on numerous occasions? How would this account of Jesus' immersion, such a common ritual, would resonate with the target Jewish audience of the Gospels? That seems odd that the Gospel writers would put that story in there if every Jew performed these rituals. The story wouldn't have any effect. It's not like a healing or some other key moment. Every Jew does it. So why did they put that in there? Why such emphasis on that particular immersion? The answer that I propose in my book and also in the classroom to students, the answer is that the Gospel writers focus on this particular immersion at the beginning of his ministry in order to highlight his authority. This is strictly an episode about authority. So how so? How do I come to this conclusion? This account connects Jesus with John the Baptist, whom Josephus recognized and a lot of Jews recognize as one having authority. So it connects Jesus to John the Baptist. It also connects Jesus to Elisha or Elisha, as some people, as we say in English, the prophet Elisha. Number 3 connects Jesus to Moses. Number 4 connects Jesus to Joshua. And then number 5, it highlights the heavenly voice at the event. Jesus is compared often in the Gospels to Moses. The Gospel of Matthew specifically, the story is written so that Jews would be thinking of Moses. So as a second Moses or Moses' successor, Jesus is named after Moses' original successor, Joshua. Okay, so that's Jesus' name, Yeshua. It's Joshua. The Jordan River is parted for Joshua at the beginning of his ministry. We're using that word ministry, but when Joshua takes over at the beginning in Joshua 3, the Jordan River is parted for Joshua. The heavens also parted while another Joshua, i.e. Jesus, stands in the Jordan River at the beginning of his ministry. So it wasn't the river that parted, but it was the heavens that parted. Explicit connection between Joshua and Moses is found in the book of Joshua. Here's in Joshua 3:7, it says, This day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, so that they may know that I will be with you, Joshua, as I was with Moses. You can see that for ancient Israelites, Joshua he was a successor of Moses and was compared to Moses. The authors of the Gospels seem to be making the same Moses connection with their own Joshua, who is Jesus. So again, in Joshua 3:7, God speaks to Joshua and exalts him this day. God speaks and says, Joshua, you're exalted this day. And it's at the Jordan River. Now notice in Mark chapter 1, God also, and also in the other Gospels, God also speaks with another Joshua, Jesus, and exalts him today. So same terminology, this day in Joshua and this day or today in Mark chapter 1, both at the Jordan River. In fact, specifically, he says, you are my son, today I have begotten you, referring to Jesus. Okay, so this is how the gospel writers are comparing and associating Jesus with Moses and Joshua. So it's no wonder that according to early Christians, Gabriel commands Joseph and Mary to name their son Joshua as a new Moses, as a second Moses, right? As a successor to Moses. So that's in Matthew 1:21 and then Luke 1:31, where Jesus' name is commanded to be Joshua. Okay? We say Jesus today, that's from the Greek and Latin. Now, in terms of the relationship the connection between Jesus and Elisha, who is the successor to Elijah, the Jordan River is parted for Elisha at the beginning of his ministry. So when Elijah goes, and by the way, John the Baptist is often compared to Elijah in the text, but when Elijah goes, it's now Elisha's turn to carry on this authority. And at the beginning of his ministry, the Jordan River parts. This is in 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 13 and 14. This is just like Jesus. Jesus is at the beginning of his ministry is at Jordan River. So basically what we have is 3 succession stories. We have Joshua succeeds Moses at the Jordan River. We have Elisha succeeds Elijah at the Jordan River. And we have Jesus succeeding John the Baptist at the Jordan River. These succession narratives are important for the gospel writers to make this connection. Now, what's interesting is that all 3 successors have the same name, the root. All 3, Joshua, Elisha, and Jesus, who was also Joshua. So the root letters are Yod, Shin, and Ayin. These are it's where we get the word Yasha, the verb to redeem, or Yasha is he redeems. That's where we get Yehoshua or Yeshua. So that's where that word comes from. But also Elijah. If you just stick El, the name of God, on the front of that word, Elisha, means God redeemed. This shows us that the gospel writers are telling the story in a very specific and purposeful way. And so their objective is to not just preserve a tradition, that Jesus was immersed, but it's specifically at the Jordan River, the hands of John the Baptist, to emphasize his authority. Now, we will deal with the other elements, the voice of God, and we'll deal with that in the next video. But what this video hopefully has done is to get us into the mind of why Jesus would have been baptized, why did he go find John the Baptist and was immersed, and hopefully some of that makes sense. And in the next video, the final video of this baptism series, Jesus' baptism series, is we will go into the texts themselves and pull out all the elements, the opening of the heavens, the dove. We'll look at all those elements and put them in their Jewish context.